Shucker Patty here. We're talking today about these things. What are you going to do when you're shucking oysters? You're going to be cutting lemons. So how you do this is a proper way. There's a lot of times I see people when they do it wrong. First and foremost, what do? That's right, Mr. Lemon. Give them a bath. Wash the lemons first because there's a wax on the outside and or other things unless you're getting organic, and then still I'd wash it because you don't know who touched your lemons. It could have been Patrick. I hope not, because that's really creepy. Then the second thing that you do, and if I see this in a restaurant, I will call you out. That's an identification stamp. It's a sticker. Before you cut your lemons, take the stickers off. It's really hard. Ooh, not so hard. I thought it was going to be really hard. But every time I go into a restaurant and see the sticker still on my lemon, no likey. Because you know what? Suggests that you did not wash your lemons. So take your stickers off your lemons first and foremost. Then what you're going to want to do, you're going to want to tip your lemons. You're going to want to take the little tips off, and then you're going to want to cut it. Now, whether you cut it in wedges or little squares, there's a little technique that I've always done. You can use a chef's knife or a lemon knife, which is slightly serrated bartender style knife, which works really, really well, and it doesn't get dull, like my stories. So take the tips off first and foremost. You only want to cut it right about here. Look at that, perfect. You don't see any of the fruit on the inside. You just cut through the pith. Same with both sides. Nice. Whoop. It happens on the other side. I'd rather it look like this than it look like this. Save your tips. I'm going to give you a tip on what to do with your tips on lemons in a second. So you have the flat sides. Guess what you can do? Oh, you just put it straight up and down. Interesting. Put your hand over top of it. We're going to cut it into eighths. Four cuts. 8 cuts. Let's find out. Straight across. 1, 2. As you're turning the lemon, put your finger on the seams that you just cut. Line up your blade on the seams so it doesn't fall over. 3, 4 cuts. Higher math. 8 pieces, 4 cuts. And then here, oh, is it going to fall? I hope not. Fingers on the seams. Beautiful. Fully cut. Oh, that's halves. And lovely little wedges. Make sure you cut all the way through. See that? Delicious. If you feel very fancy, you can do this next. Take the lemon seeds out. All right? What I recommend is to not prep too much. You can also cut the rest of the pith off. And because you don't want to get pith off about having pith on your lemons. Don't pith on your lemons. Don't. We'll go further. So we'll prep up a little bit ahead of time. Personally, I cut my lemons to order. If you are a client, your lemons will be freshly cut. As soon as I'm finished plating your oysters, lemons freshly cut. Because even if you cut it in advance a little bit, you want to prep your mise en place in your restaurant. You have to prep ahead of time. The acid in the lemon gets everything soggy. I used to work in an oyster bar that we prepped in the morning, and by 10 o'clock at night, it was a big ball of mush. So I decided not to do that in my own place. And it doesn't take that much time to cut fresh lemon. Always delicious. If you're going out catering, I fully advise to cut the lemon in half first. Take the tips off, cut it in half, and then cut it in 2/8. So therefore you get 1/16 on the wedge. And that works really well. It helps food waste reduction because you won't overcut. You'll cut just enough for what you're going to need, and the clients can come and grab just a little wedge. That's all they need, is a little bitty wedge. A couple of drips of lemon on top of the oyster. I saw a customer once, whole lemon on like 4 oysters, and asked for more. I'm like, okay, no problem. You're the customer. But really, you'll lose the taste of the oyster at that point when it's a whole. I think he was making oyster lemonade. Ooh, not a bad idea. So what we're going to do with this afterwards, you take these little fellas here. They're the tips. Because if you're going to be shucking at an oyster bar or an oyster festival, you're going to be doing at least a dozen or more. Take these, put them in a mason jar, fill it with vodka or gin, and just cold infuse it till it turns yellow. The gin will give it more body and flavor, the vodka more clean, and just becomes this perfect little limoncello type of tasty taste. And guess what? You could put that onto drip, drip, drip oysters. Delicious idea. Food waste reduction. Save your tips. reuse them, make them work for you afterwards as well. All right, we're gonna shuck a few oysters, but that is your lemon lesson for today. Mwah! Pucker up, Buttercup. It's lemon and oyster time.